Good afternoon and welcome to Tool Time Tuesday. I see we have a couple people in here, so welcome. Oh yeah, a few more. Yay. Love it. All right, it is 12 o'clock, Beverly, so if you want to go ahead and get started, we
Okay.
will make sure we have enough time.
Okay. Thank you, Andrea. Welcome everybody to Two Time Tuesday. Happy, terrific Tuesday. I like to put adjectives in front of my weekdays. Just like we're going to talk today a little bit about routines. As an adult, I have a routine. When I started when I transitioned to work at home, I had to change up my routine a little bit. So I start my mornings out by getting up, open up the shades, and I will say, "Welcome to Terrific Tuesday." And that just really sort of sets the tone for the day that I'm expecting a good day. And when those challenges happen, I say, well, this challenge is going to have to align to my Terrific Tuesday. So we're going to have to rethink this challenge and turn it into a positive um, way. But we're going to talk a little bit about routines and tips to prevent summer loss. Many of you have probably had about 2 weeks and your kids have been out of school. How's it going? Are some of you ready for school to start again? It is certainly a interesting time of the year, but summer is a special time, and I see it as a time for fun, relaxation, and for families. But for many children, they can experience the summer slide. And I tell folks when I say summer slide, I'm not talking about a new attraction at Carowinds, but summer slide is when kids lose some of the skills, particularly that they've worked hard on during the school year. And the loss of these skills make it harder to transition back into the school year. So, once again, Beverly Roberts, I'm Family Engagement Manager. Karyn and I are going to take you through this 20-minute, 25-minute journey. Karyn, I'm going to let you introduce yourself real quick and then we'll get back to the slides.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Karyn Montague, and I am ECAC's North Carolina State Improvement Project Program Lead. And I'm happy that you're here today. Take it away, Beverly.
Okay, thank you, Karyn. Just wanted to mention, in terms of as we think about the summer learning, part of the reason it is a challenge for students, and particularly our children with disabilities, is because they're so used to doing the regular school year, having a regular schedule, regular practice. But what happens with summer is then there's a break in their specialized instruction and services. And many times our kids may need more time, may need more repetition to master skills. So a change in routine, a break in routine can be challenging. But the good news here is that there are things that we can do. Um, so I am going to go to the next slide and we're going to talk just very briefly in terms about today's focus. Um, we're going to be talking about building summer routines. We're going to talk about learning opportunities in everyday moments, laying the groundwork for back to school. I'm going to do a slight disclaimer. Is disclaimer the right word? I was talking to Andrea and Karyn before we got started about that. We're saying that next year, you all, we're going to do this session like in April, so that some of the things that we're talking about, families can begin thinking about. Because one of the things that I'm going to say to you is, um, right now, this week, if you can, take a look at your child's IEP and see what goals are on that IEP, because there may be some goals that you can sort of pull out and that be part of the summer learning. Because next year, um, when we do this in March or April, the first thing that we're going to tell you is to schedule a IEP meeting with your child's teacher. We're going to tell you to ask the teacher what kind of goals are best to work on during the summer, suggest activities, and that will give you some lead time in terms of preparation. No, we don't have a lot of time, but I did want you to know up front that you're going to be receiving this PowerPoint as well as our Make Summer Count resource page with lots of good resources around summer learning, literacy activities, working on IEP goals over the summer. I love those grocery store literacy activities. Even have a resource here for learning apps for our tweens and teens, how to make an accomplishment box so that your child has made this box and they can put in things that they've done, enjoyed over the summer, and it can be sort of a treasure chest um, for them. So just, I know we're going to be saying a lot of stuff. Just wanted you to know that we're going to make sure that you get these resources that you can refer to. So I am going to turn it over to Karyn.
So when we talked about tips when you're building summer routines, as adults and children, we do best when there's clear and predictable routines, and especially during unstructured days of summer. Sometimes I know when I taught pre-K, we'd have a free Friday, and those were the most hectic days. And and then you think back, and you're like, well, I should have scheduled something. A basic schedule can just reduce stress for yourself and for the kiddos. Just creating a simple schedule, and everything's going to be catered to your child because you know your child best. And this is just an example. And what I found is when my kids were younger is actually letting them help me make out the schedule. Because, once they sleep all night, their morning routine, they might not want to sit down and read. They might want to go run outside a little bit, get some energy out, or change that life skills from the afternoon to the morning to help make pancakes or something. But this is just an example of a routine that you can use to just to a basic schedule, a morning routine, a midday routine, and then an afternoon routine. And the variables are just based on what you and your family are doing that day, or what your likes and dislikes. Next slide. So like I said before, we're going to use the tools that work best for your child. Some kids like visual schedules. Some kids like timers. Time is abstract when you say 5 minutes. So if they see a visual timer there or hear the tick, 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 and then the ding, then they know, okay, it's a clear and concise into one thing and then beginning the other. Some kids like to physically check things off. I know when you're in the grocery store and you have your list and you're checking things off, that's always refreshing to check things off, or when you have tasks to do in the house or even at work in the morning when you have a list of things to do and you check them off. See how that makes you feel. And then definitely frequent breaks. It's the summer and things can be altered and changed a little bit. And be more flexible during the summer. And then, allow choices. If something's not working, ask your child, okay, what would you like to do? And just go from there. Next slide. So this is my time. This is my time to plug the North Carolina State Improvement Project because they work to make teachers and schools and future educators have the tools that they need to support students with disabilities in reading, math, and other core subjects. And the goal of NCSIP, the North Carolina State Improvement Project, is to improve classroom instruction, to help students stay engaged and succeed, most important, I think it's very, very important to strengthen partnerships with families and to prepare pre-service teachers, those still in training. And that's a key part of the NC-SIP work, so that our pre-service teachers are prepared when they enter the classroom and ready to support all learners from day to day. And by building strong teams, schools, and districts, we can create better learning experience and outcomes for every student. and ultimately our students with disabilities. So the first everyday moment, some examples of that for reading, read together daily for 10 minutes, whether it be a picture book, whether it be the comics, whether it be a graphic novel, whatever your child or teenager enjoys doing, read for 10 minutes. And it can even be an audio book. When you're going, to pick up someone from practice, read the signs, street signs. If you're in the getting lunch at a food restaurant, menus. And what I love to do, and my kids used to love to do, is just follow a recipe together. And that's gonna, transfer into not only reading, but measuring and math, which is our next one. So I jumped ahead a little bit. And then uh, at the beginning of the summer, give each of your kids a journal and have them fill out a page in the journal every single day, whether it be them coloring, whether it be them writing letters, whether it be them actually putting down their thoughts, or, if they can put stickers on a page, date those pages and just let them write in a journal, or have an activity in a journal. And library visits, free, free, free. Lots of activities during the summer for our students and our kiddos at the library. So just you can explore new books. There are reading challenges, and then story time. And actually they have crafts as well. So by weaving and reading into the daily life, we help kids stay connected to literacy, and it feels natural, and they actually enjoy it. So you're not just saying, sit down with the book and read. Let's see. Some examples for visual supports, like to adapt for students with disabilities. Like I said, was follow picture-based or simplified recipe. You can have a recipe and then actually have pictures right beside it, so it shows kids what to do. And set up a reading corner and have sensory supports, whatever that child needs. And just like with small adjustments, we want to create an environment so reading is fun and not negative. The next
Karen,
slide.
Karen, I was
Yes.
just going to say, going to do a plug for one of the handouts. We have one that's called Creating a Reading Rich Environment, which talks about some of the things that you mentioned about making that cozy environment somewhere, soft and fun for a child to sit. So we have some more information on how to do that.
Yeah, so we also have Andrea actually has done a wonderful job revamping our NC section of the website. So we're going to have a lot of resources there as well. For our everyday math moments, like I said before, cooking is awesome to do that. Going outside and creating a hopscotch with the numbers, and they don't necessarily have to do the hopscotch. You can just get a little rock and throw it on number two, or toss the rock and then say the number. So lots of ways to incorporate math. You can count coins, and the grocery list, adding up items on the grocery list, playing card games, sorting. So there are lots of ways to incorporate math into your everyday moments. Next slide.
Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about play. And as Karen had talked earlier about in terms of looking at your schedule, and it's certainly going to be individualized in terms of for your child, because some of you might have children that are in a day program, a camp. And so you're really looking at, okay, what is our morning routine like? And what is our afternoon or evening routine like? So what we hope is that in some of these routines of the day that there is time for play. Play is very underrated. I remember hearing somebody saying that we as adults we would be less stressful and happier if we would just play sometime. And so really looking at that play is just not something extra. It's not something to tick the time off. It's not something to wear the kids out, even though there's nothing wrong with kids playing until they get tired. But it has a purpose and a purpose in learning. It is not just about fun. Play is a developmental tool, and kids learn to build skills around communication, critical thinking, and relationships. And we know that those skills are important to our kids. So as you're looking at playing, you're looking at supports for language, problem solving, and social skills, puzzles, building sets, matching games, shape sorters, memory games. All of these um, tools, and they really are tools, help kids in terms of to ask questions, for you to give them opportunities to describe what they're doing, to follow instructions. It is important to be able to follow instructions. And um, social skills are things that we learn, but social skills are things that we have to continue to practice. So, looking at how we can practice these skills through play. And it really helps with problem solving. With puzzles, we are, trying to figure out what piece goes here. Puzzles were so important to my son's schedule. Charles Eric has intellectual disabilities and autism. And for whatever reason, puzzles were one of those things that he seemed to enjoy doing, but also would sort of set the tone. If he was feeling anxious, doing a puzzle was very helpful to him and sort of set up the structure for the day. Pretending um, play scenarios. There's nothing wrong with imagination. Setting up pretend stores and letting the child be the owner, the boss, take the money. Restaurant, considering having one night that your house, instead of being your kitchen, for example, I'll say Charles Eric, it'll be Charles Eric's restaurant. And your child would be responsible for deciding on the menu. And as Karyn talked before about the skills of helping to cook, measuring, and, let your child make a sign saying, this is their restaurant, and really make it fun. And so imagination and pretending is important. Sensory is important. Technical um, skills are important. Putting touch and sight is important. And so having sensory bins, just plastic tubs. You could have plastic tubs with things like rice and noodles. Kids like to mess in those kinds of things. Having them to feel the difference, having them to describe the difference. And then to make it even more fun, throw in a couple of plastic letters. Have them put their hands in there and see if they can feel the letters and tell you the name of the letters or tell you the name of the shapes. Um, and that brings sensory feeling with looking. Keeping play open ended and child led. We want to make sure that our children have the opportunity to be creative, that we are not saying, okay, this has to be played this way. Now certainly with games there may be rules, but some of the fun stuff has been when my kids has decided they didn't like that rule, let's make a new one, let's change it. Okay, did it work with that new rule? Maybe we need to go back to the old rule. But giving children opportunities to express themselves, to for their play to be child led, and for it to not be something that we are directing. And as we think about play, do not forget about outdoor play, sports. They can be so helpful in terms of development, because outdoor play just isn't about physical activity. When children are outside playing with each other, um, they have to communicate, they have to negotiate, they're expressing emotions, and that gives us an opportunity to help direct our children and help them figure out how to negotiate and navigate communication. Sometimes physical play helps kids to figure out challenges. How are we going to count these points? What is considered out? What is considered safe? So really navigating the rules and understanding the rules. And there are lots of fun games, whether you're talking about basketball, baseball, throwing the ball in the water, hide and seek, tag, but just encouraging playtime and looking for opportunities to teach, because outdoor particularly and games and sports helps kids with sportsmanship, teamwork, learning how to take turns. That was one of the things that we really had to work with Charles Eric on, because if he liked the game, he just wanted to do it all. Well, we wanted to focus on him learning how to take turns and to be um, social. Another important skill is life skills. Um, I saw this saying and I said, it's true, it's true. And they was talking about adults. And they say one of the things as an adult, we have to learn to do the things that you don't want to do and then do it every day. Like cleaning and cook. I mean, there are certain things we have to do every day. And so helping our children learn some of these life skills that really going to make their life easier. And so cooking and cleaning, as Karyn had mentioned before, these are teachable moments in terms of sequencing. As you cook and look at a recipe, helping kids to understand, okay, this goes first, this goes second, this goes third. Children learning to use utensils helps with fine motor skills. Um, and in some of these everyday moments, really looking at how we can translate some of these skills into other activities in the day. One of the things that we used to do with Charles Eric in terms of as we look at sequencing um, was in terms of cleaning. Um, when there was stuff on the floor when he was younger, toys on the floor, it was okay. The first thing you do is pick up the toy. The second thing is put it in the basket. The third thing is to put it in the closet, so that he eventually learned when I said clean up, there are sequences. And oftentimes we forget, and I know as a parent, I would often forget, tell a child, clean this up or do this, and not realizing that there are pieces to that and helping them understand, you do this first, you do this second, you do this third. And so just reiterating what Karyn said in terms of the math and using it for cooking and measuring and recipe. Um, Chores are important for kids. Looking at chores being a part of the routine and helping kids to understand why chores are important. That's one of those things that, yeah, if I could choose not to do it, I probably wouldn't, but it's going to make your life so much easier down the road. And letting kids.
Beverly, I was looking at the letting the kids help with the laundry sorting and even the cooking. I said I've taught all three of my kids the same thing, but the laundry sorting definitely two out of the three kids got it, and the other one I guess maybe just doesn't care. But I'm sure I taught him that. And then even the cooking, my daughter said to me the other day, she's at college. She goes, "Mom, like some people really don't know how to cook." And I said, yes, aren't you glad I taught you? So, but yeah, those are really important, those life skills.
Those are really important. It's also, and I was going to talk a few minutes about it later, but I'll talk about it now in terms of you talking about um, folks who don't cook. Um, it is important to get those cooking skills, but it's also important in terms of for our children with disabilities to know how to navigate those spaces when you go out, when you order um, uh, takeout. And we tend to do that more during the summer and sort of think of those as opportunities for learning skills. I know with Charles Eric, he would get once a week during the summer to pick anywhere he wanted um, to go eat. And sometimes we did want to influence him because he did. We there were a few restaurants we just went at all the time. But anyway, whether it was takeout or whether it was a restaurant, help giving him the opportunity to place the order. Even if I had to help the server understand, but giving him that opportunity to place the order, to ask what he want, to ask for the condiments. Our challenge with Charles Everett was he was always afraid somebody was going to forget the barbecue sauce. And so when he'd ask for it, if she didn't bring it that next time, he would just keep saying barbecue. And I'd say, when she brings the chicken nuggets, every now and then we'd have that server who would go ahead and bring the barbecue sauce. But he learned how to advocate for himself and how to make those requests. So allowing our children to help us in terms of with packing lunches, getting prepared for the next day, the laundry sorting. Sorting is an important skill, as Karyn pointed out. Letting them sort, letting them know where to place items. For Charles Eric, a daily visual routine was best for him. And in that, we had his chores. And his chore was he loved to fold towels, and he folded towels and bath cloths and put them back in the place, and was so happy to be able to check that off as a success. You know, find opportunities to give your child the kudos for success, and the routine and the charts help you see how you fill up your day and those opportunities. And I know we're running out of time. We've got so much to say, so I will quickly say this. Um, Social skills are also extremely important. And summer is a time where you may have more of an opportunity to arrange play dates or visits. You know, during the school year, your child has have more opportunities to interact with other children. So look at opportunities during the week where you can bring in play dates where they can have opportunities to um, communicate, um, and learning how to start conversations. That's a tough one, even as an adult. You know, you go into a new place or with people you don't know, it's hard to start conversations. But giving them prompts in terms of how to start conversations, talking with their friends. There are on some of our autism sites um, opportunities to find social scripts and social stories to help walk your child through social interactions, um, you know, predictors, so that as you look at your schedule and you're doing something new, how do you prep your child for something new? You know, those kinds of things are important. So these social scripts and this role playing are really helpful. Board games, teaching your child how to play board games with another child is important because they learn how to take turns, they learn how to communicate. So really looking at those opportunities. So as we think about social skills, what are our natural opportunities? Our family meetings, meals, our gatherings where we sit down as a family, taking the opportunity for our child to help us set the table, knowing how many people are going to be at the table, how many plates do we need, how many glasses do we need, um, and doing the meal, encouraging eye contact, asking questions, encouraging conversation. This really helps. This is a skill that can help translate to school. And as I mentioned earlier, ordering at a restaurant, um, is important. So, in terms of everyday interactions, we may think that they are small, but they are opportunities to build social skills. And as I wrap up, because I think it's time to wrap up quickly. All of the stuff that we talked about, all of the interactions are skills that can help as our children transition back into school. We've kept them in a structured environment. We're not talking about a tight structure. We don't want to make summer feel like they're back in school. We want the fun in with the structure, and it makes it easier to transition back into the structure of school. Kids are feel more prepared for school. They are more on track, and it helps them to develop and keep skills. So when sort of the wrap up, when we are reading with our child, when we are uh, doing math activities, fun math activities with our child, um, daily habits, part of the everyday life, when we're doing all of these things, the social skills, the life skills, it just helps prepare our children to be prepared for school and to succeed, because that is what it's all about, for our children to succeed on what's appropriate for them. So it's not about doing more, it's about staying connected and, when possible, um, including skills into their everyday learning. Thank you for this opportunity. Um, be on the lookout for the resources, and you're going to see us again in March or April of 2026. Thank you for taking your time to be with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beverly and Karen. I'm going to launch a quick poll for our participants. If you could go ahead and answer a few very quick questions. The grants that we work on require us to report back that what we are providing is useful, relevant, and of high quality. So we appreciate your feedback. If you could go ahead and fill out those questions, that would be great. There we go. Make sure that's working. And just to let everyone know, next week is actually July 1st on Tuesday, which is crazy, but we are going to be taking off that day for Tool Time Tuesday. We know it's a busy week for vacations, but we will catch back up after that, the week after that. And the offerings for July will be going out soon. So please keep an eye out for that email. Give another couple seconds for the survey. If there are any quick questions, we can take some quick questions. And as Beverly mentioned, you will be getting all these great resources. So look out for that.
And that will also have Karen's and my contact information. So please feel free to reach back out to us. If we don't know the answer,
We'll find
we
it.
will find it out. We'll figure it out. That's all part of learning.
Awesome. If you haven't done our survey, please go ahead and do that. We're about at 42%, so a couple more would be great. Hope everyone stays cool out there. I know it's going to be extremely hot, so take it easy. Enjoy the air conditioning. All right. Well, we thank everyone for joining us today and have a good rest of your Tuesday. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thanks, everybody.